Welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Kelly Jackson. He's the Christian County Extension Agent for Horticulture. We're going to talk about Kentucky winter. And one thing we know is sometimes the cold, the winter, can be damaging to some of our trees.
It may be more like spring, and even that can cause some tolls to our tree.
And a lot of times we're not out in the yard as much. We are not noticing our trees, but when an event happens, that's when a lot of people get concerned.
Yeah, and of course, the biggest event that we would see in Kentucky really isn't big snow events. I mean, they may happen every once in a while, but ice events are the norm. That can cause a lot of damage to any landscape material that you have, specifically for woody plants like trees and shrubs. And so when a tree branches are covered in ice and you see a lot of branches tilted over and leaning, resist the temptation to immediately do something. And it's so hard for us to do that. But I have heard many, many stories of people going out, taking a broom handle and even having that told to them as a recommendation and going out and trying to break off ice so the tree can stand back up. That is the worst possible thing that we could do. And the reason for that is we're going to end up rupturing cells all along branches, and you won't see that damage immediately. You'll see that damage next spring when you have branches that won't leaf out, or let's say they go ahead and do leaf out, but we get into a drought period. You've destroyed a lot of that xylem tissue, the tissue inside of the stems that move water. And so now the tree can't pump enough water from the root system out to the leaves, and you start having drought-like symptoms when it starts getting warm. Just trying to lift it up or putting something under it to try to support that tree. Again, you're gonna be flexing that wood either further down if you're trying to hit on it or up. And in both cases, that cell tissue does not have the flexibility that it typically has. But the good news is that trees are resilient, and trees can actually recover from that type of pressure, that type of force. We get two basic types of injury, or they can cause injury during an ice event, and one of them is just heavy loading, like we're talking about now. So extra amount of ice or snow, but then also wind, which will cause torque and twisting into the branches of the tree. You're not going to be able to affect either of those during this time. So you have to be patient and wait and let that do what it is naturally supposed to do, which is to bend and to flex. And even when there's some wind, it should be able to withstand that. That's not to say you're not going to have any limb breakage. You probably are going to have some limb breakage, but that's to take care of after the ice event is over. Probably a 15, 20-foot tall tree. The tops are touching the ground. That's pretty drastic. That would scare a lot of people to death, I think. 2 weeks later, after temperatures have warmed up, the tree is completely okay. It's all back to its original position. So I hope that will bring some peace to people who, when they see a picture like that, say, oh, wow, it can really recover. Yeah, it really can recover. That's a maple tree, for an example, or smaller trees, dogwoods, those types of things can all do that. You have to consider that if it's an evergreen tree, you have more surface area. You've got more needles. There's more weight already there. All of those needles may get covered, and it's maybe a little bit different. If you're growing a white pine, chances are you're going to have some breakage. You're going to have some limbs come out of that tree. If it's a smaller plant, boxwood or junipers or something in the landscape, and if it's snow, then taking a broom or taking a snow shovel or something and gently removing some of that weight isn't going to hurt anything. Resist the temptation of trying to get buckets of warm water and melting things. Not a good idea. And I'm kind of on the fence on this one. It could help to take cold water, like from your garden hose, and try to spray off some of that weight on these needled evergreens. But that's only going to work if our temperatures are increasing. Otherwise, we're going to be adding the ice on that. Besides, most garden hoses, if you left the garden hose out and it had any water in it, you're not going to get any water to flow through that anyway. So I think your best bet is just to leave that alone.
If we have clients out there who are in this type of weather event, their best bet might be to contact the extension office.
If they have severe breakage, then I would recommend contacting an arborist and having them come and take a look at the tree. And it's not an emergency. It doesn't have to be looked at the very next day. You have time. Obviously, they can do any broken limbs that are hanging on the ground after an ice event, cleaning up that type of damage. But if structural pruning needs to be done, you need someone certified that can come and take a look at that and make a good recommendation on what's best for that tree.
Thanks for watching and have a great day.